Good evening. This is All India Radio and I am Valsa Williams. With me is Abhijit Loreng with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts national education policy aims to fulfill aspirations, expectations and requirements of New India. India and China agree on 5 points for disengagement and easing of tensions at line of actual control. Gujarat and Andaman and Nicobar Islands named best performers in State Startup Rankings 2019. Centre launches Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework along with Streets for People Challenge. COVID-19 recovery rate stands at 77.65%. And in US Open Tennis, Victoria Azarenka sets up final clash with Naomi Osaka in women's singles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asserted that the National Education Policy 2020 aims to fulfill the aspirations, expectations and requirements of New India. The Prime Minister said it will give a new direction to 21st century India. Mr. Modi was addressing the National Conclave on school education in the 21st century.
नई राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति भी नए भारत की नई उम्मीदों की नई आवश्यकताओं की पूर्ति का एक सशक्त माध्यम है। इसके पीछे पिछले 4-5 वर्षों की कड़ी मेहनत है। हर क्षेत्र, हर विद्या, हर भाषा के लोगों ने इस पर दिन रात काम किया है, लेकिन ये काम अभी पूरा नहीं हुआ है। एक प्रकार से कहे तो ये काम की असली शुरुआत हुई है। अब हमें राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति को उतने ही प्रभावी तरीके से लागू करना है और ये काम हम सब मिलकर करेंगे।
Mr. Modi stressed on the importance of advancing the students with 21st century skills, listing them out as critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, curiosity and communication. He said students should learn coding from the beginning, understand artificial intelligence, join Internet of Things, cloud computing, data science and robotics. He said the earlier education policy was restrictive, but in the real world, all subjects are related to each other. He said the present system does not provide an opportunity to change the field, to connect with new possibilities, and this has also been a major reason for the dropout of many children. The Prime Minister said the national education policy also addresses another big issue, mark-sheet-driven education dominating in place of learning-driven education in our country. He said a new National Assessment Centre, Parak, will also be established for the overall improvement of the evaluation system.
होलिस्टिक रिपोर्ट कार्ड विद्यार्थियों के यूनिक पोटेंशियल, एप्टीट्यूड, एटीट्यूड, टैलेंट, स्किल्स, एफिशिएंसी, कॉम्पिटेंसी और पॉसिबिलिटी की डिटेल शीट होगी। मूल्यांकन प्रणाली में संपूर्ण सुधार के लिए एक नए राष्ट्रीय मूल्यांकन केंद्र परख की स्थापना भी की जाएगी। राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के आने के बाद से भी ये भी चर्चा काफी तेज है कि बच्चों को पढ़ाने की भाषा क्या होगी, इसमें क्या बदलाव किया जा रहा है। यहाँ हमें एक ही वैज्ञानिक बात समझने की जरूरत है कि भाषा शिक्षा का माध्यम है, भाषा ही सारी शिक्षा नहीं है।
The Prime Minister called for the cooperation of all teachers, administrators, voluntary organizations and parents in this national mission.
मूलभूत शिक्षा पर ध्यान इस नीति का सबसे महत्वपूर्ण पहलू है। राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के तहत फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी के विकास को एक राष्ट्रीय मिशन के रूप में लिया जाएगा। प्रारंभिक भाषा का ज्ञान, संख्या का ज्ञान, बच्चों में सामान्य लेख को पढ़ने और समझने की क्षमता का विकास, ये बहुत आवश्यक होता है। बच्चा आगे जाकर रीड टू लर्न करें, इसके लिए जरूरी है कि शुरुआत में वो लर्न टू रीड करना सीखे। लर्न टू रीड से रीड टू लर्न की ये विकास यात्रा फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी के माध्यम से पूरी की जाएगी।
Speaking on the occasion, Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank said the new national education policy focuses on overall development of students with scientific temperament. He said this will also help in developing strong intellect in students.
India and China have agreed on 5 points to guide their approach to the situation on the line of actual control, LAC. In the bilateral meeting between Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi held yesterday along the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO ministerial meet in Moscow, both the ministers agreed for early disengagement and easing of tensions at the LAC. First, the two ministers agreed that both sides should take guidance from the series of consensus of the leaders on developing India-China relations, including not allowing differences to become disputes. Secondly, the two foreign ministers agreed that the current situation in the border areas is not in the interest of either side. They agreed, therefore, that the border troops of both sides should continue their dialogue, quickly disengage, maintain proper distance and ease tensions. Thirdly, the two ministers agreed that both sides shall abide by all the existing agreements and protocol on China-India boundary affairs, maintain peace and tranquility in the border areas, and avoid any action that could escalate matters. The two sides also agreed to continue to have dialogue and communication through the special representative mechanism on the India-China boundary question. They also agreed in this context that the working mechanism for consultation and coordination on India-China border affairs should also continue its meetings. Lastly, the ministers agreed that as the situation eases, the two sides should expedite work to conclude new confidence-building measures to maintain and enhance peace and tranquility in the border areas.
Consequent to the decision of the government to convert Ordnance Factory Board OFB, a subordinate office of the Ministry of Defence, into one or more than 100% government-owned corporate entities, the government has constituted an empowered group of ministers under the chairmanship of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. The empowered group of ministers, EGOM, will oversee and guide the entire process, including transition support and redeployment plan of employees while safeguarding their wages and retirement benefits. Other ministers in the EGOM are Home Minister Amit Shah, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, Labour and Employment Minister Santosh Kumar Gangwar, and Minister for Personnel Dr. Jitendra Singh. The state of Gujarat and Union Territory of Andaman and Nicobar Islands have been named the best performers in the State Startup Rankings 2019. They have been recognized for their outstanding performance in simplifying commerce, enhancing productivity and leveraging technology. The State Startup Rankings was released in New Delhi today. Karnataka and Kerala are the top-performing states in the State Startup Rankings for fostering innovative entrepreneurship to attract business and finance. Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Himachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, Sikkim and Uttar Pradesh are the emerging startup ecosystems in the country. Speaking on the occasion, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said that during the COVID period, Indian startups have come up with brilliant ideas and solutions to the many problems that the country and the world face.
Startups coming up with innovative ideas on delivery of groceries, on meeting the essential requirements of our people, on coming up with newer and newer ideas to promote the digital economy, to promote e-commerce in different ways, coming up with ideas to support the logistics sector, coming up with solutions to healthcare problems, and truly the speed at which the startup ecosystem is growing gives a lot of food for thought for all of us policymakers, both at the center and state.
The minister said the startups of India are doing excellent work in roadways, waterways, shipping and railways and all sectors related to logistics in the country.
Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri today launched the Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework CSCAF 2.0 along with the Streets of People Challenge in a virtual event. The objective of CSCAF is to provide a clear roadmap for cities towards combating climate change while planning and implementing their actions, including investments. CSCAF initiative intends to inculcate a climate-sensitive approach to urban planning and development in India. The Streets of People Challenge is the response to the need for making the cities more walkable and pedestrian-friendly. The challenge builds on the advisory issued by the Ministry for the Holistic Planning for Pedestrian-Friendly Market Spaces earlier this year. The challenge will support cities across the country to develop a unified vision of streets for people in consultation with stakeholders and citizens. Minister of State for Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, Dr. Jitendra Singh, has said in a major relief to elderly persons, the government has relaxed the existing timeline for submission of life certificate. He said all central government pensioners can submit life certificate from 1st November to 31st December this year. Earlier, this used to be only for the month of November for maintaining continuity of pension. However, the pensioners in the age group of 80 years and above can submit life certificate from 1st of October 2020 to 31st of December 2020. During this extended period, the pension will be continued to be paid by the Pension Disbursing Authorities, PDAs, uninterrupted. Dr. Singh said the decision was taken in view of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and the vulnerability of elderly population to coronavirus. In addition to it, pension disbursing banks have been also asked to explore the methodology for obtaining a life certificate from the pensioner to the extent permitted by RBI guidelines in order to avoid rush at the branches.
Around 59 lakh hectare more sowing area coverage has been reported under Kharif crops in comparison to last year. The Agriculture Ministry in a statement said a record progress of area coverage has been reported under Kharif crops. The coverage is 1,104.54 lakh hectare area as compared to the corresponding period of last year of 1,045.18 lakh hectare. The ministry said there is no impact of COVID-19 on progress of area coverage under Kharif crops as on date. The Election Commission today issued revised guidelines for publishing details of criminal antecedents by candidates and political parties regarding candidates nominated by them. As per the revised guidelines, the candidates as well as the political parties regarding candidates nominated by them will publish the details of criminal antecedents, if any, in newspapers and television. The first publicity will be within first 4 days of last date of withdrawal. Second publicity will be within the 5th to the 8th day of last date of withdrawal. The third publicity will be from the 9th day till the last day of campaign, which is 2 days prior to the date of poll. The poll body said the timeline will help the voters in exercising their choices in a more informed manner. Regarding the publicity by uncontested winning candidates as well as the political parties who nominate them, the Commission clarified that uncontested winner candidates as well as the political parties who nominate them shall also publicize the criminal antecedents, if any, as prescribed for other contesting candidates and political parties. A compendium of all instructions and formats issued so far in this matter is being published for the benefit of stakeholders. The Election Commission said it will help in creating more awareness amongst the voters and other stakeholders. It said all instructions in this regard must be complied by the contesting candidates with criminal antecedents and the political parties regarding their nominated candidates. The modified instructions will apply with immediate effect.
Union Minister Kiren Rijiju has said that the Chinese People's Liberation Army has confirmed to the Indian Army to hand over the youths from Arunachal Pradesh to the Indian side. In a tweet, Mr. Rijiju said the handing over is likely to take place anytime tomorrow at a designated location. The 5 boys from Arunachal Pradesh were missing since 1st September. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts national education policy aims to fulfill aspirations, expectations and requirements of New India. India and China agree on 5 points for disengagement and easing of tensions at the line of actual control. Gujarat and Andaman and Nicobar Islands named best performers in State Startup Rankings 2019. Centre launches Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework along with Streets for People Challenge. COVID-19 recovery rate stands at 77.65%, and in US Open tennis, Victoria Azarenka sets a final clash with Naomi Osaka in the women's singles. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
सुनिए संस्कृत जगत से जुड़ी हुई विभिन्न गतिविधियों के साथ आकाशवाणी से प्रसारित विशेष कार्यक्रम संस्कृत साप्ताहिकी अब नए समय पर प्रत्येक शनिवार प्रातः 11:20 से आकाशवाणी के समाचार चैनल FM गोल्ड पर तथा पुनः प्रसारण रविवार प्रातः 11:20 से।
Welcome back. Nearly 35,50,000 people in the country have recovered from the coronavirus pandemic. In the last 24 hours, India witnessed recoveries of 70,880 people from COVID-19. The overall recovery rate stands at 77.65%. Currently, India's case fatality rate stands at 1.67%. India has progressively maintained a low case fatality rate compared to the global average, which is above 3%. In the last 24 hours, 96,551 new cases have been reported, taking the total number of positive cases to 45,62,415. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 9,43,480. In the last 24 hours, 1,209 deaths were reported, taking the toll to 76,271. More than 11,63,000 COVID samples were tested across the country in the last 24 hours. With cumulative testing figure of around 5,40,97,975, India continues to be one of the countries conducting the highest daily testings. Average daily testing has witnessed an increase of over 3.2 times in a span of 2 months. It stands at over 1 million tests in the current week.
The Union government has urged states and union territories to ensure that no restriction is imposed on the movement of medical oxygen between states. Health Ministry said it has come to the knowledge that a few states are trying to curb the free interstate movement of oxygen supplies by exercising provisions under various acts. They are also mandating the manufacturers and suppliers located in the state to restrict their oxygen supplies to only the hospitals of the state. The Union Health Secretary has written a letter in this regard to states and DUTs. Uttar Pradesh has achieved the landmark success of conducting more than 50,000 RT-PCR tests in a day, which is the highest in the country. Yesterday, the state conducted over 1,50,000 tests, and total tests till now stand at 72 lakhs. More from a correspondent.
Out of 1,50,652 COVID tests yesterday, 50,000 tests were done on RT-PCR and that too by government labs. Currently, UP is doing maximum tests in India. Still, its positivity is half of national average. Also, the death rate due to COVID is below national average. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath asked Senior Administrative Officer of the state to prepare an effective action plan to control the spread of COVID-19 in the state capital Lucknow. The city is witnessing highest number of corona patients in the state. Maximum 16 deaths were reported from Lucknow, while 76 persons lost their lives due to corona in the state yesterday. The state currently has 67,321 active COVID cases. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
Even as cities in Maharashtra continue to see rising cases of COVID-19, the cases have started to decline in the state's hinterland. At least 206 out of 341 coronavirus-affected villages in Aurangabad district have managed to beat the disease and have 0 patients as of today. A report.
Sincere efforts by the Aurangabad administration, like monitoring of containment zones and constant checks on elderly villagers, has helped in controlling the spread of infection. With around 8,000 cases in Aurangabad rural, the recovery rate stands at 77%. On the other hand, containment efforts in cities like Mumbai and Pune are showing no major success. After a gap of 55 days, Mumbai's biggest slum area of Dharavi reported a spike of 33 cases today, amid calls for implementation of strict measures like ensuring that people don't roam around without wearing masks and maintain social distancing. The area's active case tally has shot up to 124. Meanwhile, Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar has warned officials of strict action if found negligent in maintaining jumbo COVID facilities in Pune. Mr. Pawar has asked district administration to install sirens on tankers that carry oxygen so that transportation of this essential commodity is not affected. Nisha Rani, AIR News, Mumbai.
In Manipur, 209 people were discharged from hospitals in the last 24 hours after recovering from COVID-19. With this, the COVID recovery rate has improved to 79.19%. Meanwhile, 109 people, including 8 personnel from the Central Armed Police Force, have tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 24 hours in Manipur. Manipur Works Minister Bishwajit Singh also tested positive for COVID-19 today. In Meghalaya, the Border Security Forces BSF personnel who have recovered from COVID-19 are coming forward to donate their plasma to combat the ongoing pandemic. A plasma donation camp was held at the BSF camp in Shillong, where the samples from over 60 BSF personnel were collected by medical technicians from Northeastern Indira Gandhi Regional Institute of Health and Medical Sciences.
Ahead of the monsoon session of the Parliament beginning from Monday, Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu today underwent COVID-19 test. According to an advisory issued to all Rajya Sabha members, it is mandatory for each member to undergo the RT-PCR test before attending the session. For the convenience of the members, 3 test centres are functioning in Parliament House Annex from today. Minister of State for Railways Suresh Angadi today tested positive for COVID-19. In a tweet, Mr. Angadi said he is doing fine and taking the advice of doctors. He requested all those who have come in close contact with him in the last few days to monitor their health and get tested in case of any symptoms.
The News Services Division of All India Radio in its bilingual live phone-in program tonight will bring you a special discussion on COVID-19. Dr. Naresh Gupta, medical consultant, Maulana Azad Medical College, will participate in the discussion. This can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. Arya Samaj leader and social activist Swami Agnivesh passed away today at the Institute of Liver and Biliary Sciences ILBS in New Delhi. He was 80. Swami Agnivesh was suffering from liver cirrhosis and was critically ill and on ventilator support since Tuesday due to multi-organ failure. Agnivesh was elected to Haryana Legislative Assembly in 1977 and served as a cabinet minister for education in the state in 1979. The Prime Minister will participate in Griha Pravesh ceremony and virtually inaugurate 1,75,000 houses in Madhya Pradesh tomorrow. Mr. Modi will also interact with some of the beneficiaries. Here is more from our correspondent.
The house of Subhash and Sushila of Urdan village of Baitul district of Madhya Pradesh has been completed recently under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Subhash's wife Sushila said that we had received 1.5 lakh rupees from the government to build a house.
मकान था सर तो हमारा हमको दिक्कत हो रही थी, पानी का पकड़ा था, अब मकान बन रहा तो बहुत अच्छा से लग रहा है.
Baitul District Panchayat CEO ML Tyagi said that the way Subhash and Sushila work hard to prepare the house themselves is remarkable for others too.
उससे स्वयं हितग्राही में एक अपनी स्वयं की प्रेरणा से अच्छे मकान को उन्होंने बनाकर तैयार किया.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi too has been impressed by this couple of Baitul. Prime Minister will also talk to Subhash and Sushila during a dialogue with the beneficiaries of PM Awas scheme on September 12. With Mayank Bhargav from Baitul, Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
Minister for Environment and Forest Prakash Javadekar has asked states to take the issue of sand mining mafia seriously and impose strict laws to bring an end to the practice. Addressing the 15th National Forest Martyrs Day program in New Delhi today, Mr. Javadekar appealed that sustainable sand mining must be practiced so as to prevent the depletion of natural resources from riverbeds. The Railways has collaborated with the indigenous companies in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. This is providing impetus to the mission of self-reliant country, the Atmanirbhar Bharat. The East Central Railway is promoting country-made face mask, bedroll and blankets at the stations of Bihar. More from a correspondent.
3 kiosks have been set up on Patna, Rajendra Nagar and Patliputra Junction in Bihar. The COVID-19 protective equipments like disposable PPE, blankets and bed rolls are produced by New Delhi-based company. The Patna Junction kiosk operator Rakesh Kumar told AIR that first stall was set up in the second week of August.
और मास्क, सैनिटाइजर, बेड रोल, पीपी किट, स्प्रे वगैरह का सब चीज का जरूरी सामान रखा हुआ है. यात्रियों के लिए यहाँ बहुत सा जागरूक हो गए हैं। जो भी लोग गेट का भी आदमी आ रहा है वो भी अपना ध्यान रख रहे हैं, मास्क भी ले रहे हैं, सैनिटाइजर ले रहे हैं, स्प्रे ले रहे हैं, टीटी किट वगैरह भी ले रहे हैं, सब लोग ध्यान दे रहे हैं।
The COVID-19 protective equipment stalls are helping people to make their journey safe and secure during the pandemic times. It is also giving boost to idea of vocal for local. धर्मेंद्र कुमार राय, आकाशवाणी समाचार, पटना.
In Assam, the Fisheries Department is expected to double the fish production in the state under the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Talking to AIR, the Commissioner Secretary in the Fisheries Department, Rakesh Kumar, said that Assam produces 3.35 lakh metric tons of fish annually. He said a target has been set to produce 7 lakh metric tons of fish in 5 years under the Yojana.
Under PMMSY, Prime Minister Matsya Sampada Yojana, for the state of Assam, we are hoping to increase the production twice in the next coming 5 years, as well as to introduce the best practices available all over India, like aquaculture, like cage culture, or like this one growing system. So definitely PMMSY is going to help the state of Assam in the pisciculture sector, as well as to raise the income of the fish farmers, and it will increase the production of the state.
The Congress party today released a list of 15 candidates for assembly by-polls in Madhya Pradesh. Former MP Premchand Guddu has been given ticket from Saver seat and Ravindra Singh Tomar will contest from Dimani constituency. The Election Commission is yet to announce the schedule for the by-polls. On the 4th of this month, the Election Commission had said that by-polls and the Bihar Assembly polls will be held around the same time. Presently, there are 64 vacancies in different state legislative assemblies and 1 vacancy in the Lok Sabha.
A special court in Mumbai today denied bail to actor Riya Chakravarti and her brother Shovik, arrested by the Narcotics Control Bureau (NCB) in connection with a drugs-related case pertaining to the death of movie star Sushant Singh Rajput. Their bail applications were rejected by Judge G.B. Gorao of the Special Court, hearing cases filed under the Narcotics, Drug and Psychotropic Substances Act. The court also rejected the bail pleas of 4 other accused in the case. Special Public Prosecutor Atul Sarpande had opposed their bail, saying that Riya and Shovik financed and arranged drugs. In Chhattisgarh, Maoists killed a forest officer today. Incident took place in Jangla area of Bijapur district in Bastar division. The ranger in the forest department, Rathram Patel, was posted at Indravati Tiger Reserve. He went to Kondrunji village for the payment of wages. Senior police officers rushed to the village and have launched a search operation in the area.
In the US Open tennis, Belarusian Victoria Azarenka will face Japan's Naomi Osaka in the summit clash of the women's singles tomorrow. In the semi-final, Azarenka defeated Serena Williams 1-6, 6-3, 6-3 and ended her bid for a 24th Grand Slam singles title. In another semi-final, Naomi Osaka beat American Jennifer Brady 7-6, 3-6, 6-3. In men's singles semi-finals later tonight, while Pablo Carreno Busta of Spain will face Germany's Alexander Zverev, Russian Daniil Medvedev will take on Dominic Thiem of Austria. Now a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital Delhi will have a partly cloudy sky. It will have a minimum temperature of 26 degrees and maximum of 37. In Mumbai, there will be generally cloudy sky with heavy rain. Minimum temperature will be 28 degrees. Maximum will be around 32. On to the north in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, minimum temperature will be 25 degrees in Jammu, while maximum will be around 36 degrees. In Srinagar, minimum temperature will be around 13, maximum around 30. Ladakh will have a mainly clear sky. Temperature will hover between 12 and 26 degrees Celsius. Gilgit temperature will hover between 13 and 32 degrees. In Muzaffarabad, there will be mainly clear sky. Temperature will hover between 18 and 36 degrees Celsius. In Dehradun, temperature will hover between 24 and 33 degrees. In Chandigarh, there will be partly cloudy sky. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts national education policy aims to fulfill aspirations, expectations and requirements of New India. India and China agree on 5 points for disengagement and easing of tensions at line of actual control. Gujarat and Andaman and Nicobar Islands named best performers in State Startup Rankings 2019. Centre launches Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework along with Streets for People Challenge COVID-19 recovery rate stands at 77.65%. And in US Open tennis, Victoria Azarenka sets up final clash with Naomi Osaka in women's singles. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.